Welcome to Life Mastery Radio with Todd Allen and Jackie Bailey, the show that dives into the science of higher consciousness with inspiring topics such as abundance, intention, health, manifestation, love, and transformation. Join Todd, Jackie, and their guests of leading authors, speakers, coaches, and entrepreneurs weekly at 10 a.m. Pacific. Learn to live a peaceful life with intentional mastery. It's all right here with stories and messages to support your well-being and most evocative dreams. Now, here's your hosts, Todd and Jackie.
Hey, it's another groovy day, and mostly because it's Life Mastery Radio Day. And you know what? It's really, really groovy because Jackie and I, we're on our own. We're doing this all by ourselves. We're producing, creating, marketing, and this is where we should be. I have that feeling. And Contact Talk Radio, who used to host our show, is no longer doing live shows. What a great opportunity to step through that door. So here we are. Patience, please. And I think we're monitoring. So if you want to interact with us, you couldn't do that before. You can now.
Hey.
I think. Yeah. So we've opened a whole new arena. This is pretty cool. I'm pretty excited. It's also a groovy day. Many of you know that's because I make it that way. When I get up in the morning, my day starts out groovy. Things might happen, something might change, but I always think back, hey, I started out groovy. I can turn this around. And it always does. It just happens. If not, that's the way it's supposed to be. And I look for the gift. And that's the way it works for me. As always, I have my co-host with me today, Jackie Bailey. I think she's as excited as I am about doing all of this. It's a huge step. And what do you think, Jackie?
Like we're graduating from podcast high school. We've got our diplomas. We're going out into the big wide world all by ourselves.
I know. I've been doing this for 12 years. And, I always had the intention of producing and creating it. Just Contact Talk Radio made it so easy. But
they've been a great member of the family, right?
Yeah, they pushed us out of the nest. Here we go. How are things at the Speak Feed Lead Project?
We have so many wonderful things going on and so many things happening, and excited about it. We're introducing new youth to our programs all the time, and we're getting them ready for some big summits coming up. The Voices of Women Summit is coming up in March. And so we're getting 20 young women ready to be speakers on that summit, and it's very exciting.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I know. I can't keep up with you. I every time I pull up Facebook or the feed or look at your page, I was like, wow, when did she do this? Wow, she's doing that. It's just crazy. But I commend you. That takes a lot of work and a lot of commitment. And what's the other word I'm looking for? I guess commitment will work.
Yeah, insanity maybe. Is that the other word you're looking for?
Regimentation. It takes a lot of regimentation.
Discipline, yes. And it's interesting too, because we are now working with parents.
Yeah.
I contributed to a book called No Problem Parenting, and my chapter is about how to talk to your kids. And we didn't necessarily start with that side of the equation. It was mostly, let's get your kids to be empowered speakers. But now I'm really delighted that we can talk to parents too. And when we can empower both sides, and we got kids feeling confident and parents understanding how to communicate better, it's a beautiful thing. So yeah. I'm starting a workshop tomorrow that's for parents, and it's called How to Get Your Kid Talking to You. And so I'm looking forward to helping parents to do that more, because that's one of the big complaints they come to me about. They say, my kid doesn't talk to me, or he answers in one word answers, and how do I get him to talk? So that's what we're focusing on.
I get this feeling in my heart, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I guess it's a broad scope, but you are blazing a trail. This is uncharted territory, right? This is
a whole new business model. I don't know
for you, but
I don't think anybody's done what I'm doing.
Right. That's what I mean. And you're.
I don't even know how to do it. I'm just trying.
Well, you follow your heart, and yeah. I think you've become aware that your knower knows what to do. I truly believe that, right?
Sometimes I don't believe my knower, but I'm just going to keep chugging along. And maybe our guests can talk about that today.
Yeah. More, you can Google Jackie Bailey. She has the links will just flood your entire page, and you can check her out, check her programs out, check out what she's doing for kids, what she's doing for parents. Everything's right there, and follow along or sign up. Join one of her groups or attend one of her classes. And if you want to find your heart and speak from your heart, Jackie Bailey is the person to talk to, so get a hold of her. I want to remind our listeners that today's show page is at www.lifemasteryradio.com. Any links that we talk about, we have a couple of links up there already to our guest. He has a survey or a test. What do we call it, Dr. Phil? Is it a test? Is it a
quiz, a 9-question quiz?
Oh, you're muted for some reason.
9-question quiz.
There you go. A quiz.
Oh, it's a 9-question quiz. Yes.
Yeah.
It takes you about a minute.
Yeah, you can go. It's on our show page. Check it out while you're there. Jackie and I's books. Jackie and I's. How do I say that? Jackie and mine. Jack something. Both our books are there on the website. You can follow the link, and it takes you to Amazon, and you can purchase them. She's got a couple more books that we got to get up there too, and I think you can find those on our website. Sign up for the newsletter. Jackie creates a newsletter once a week. It highlights who's been on the show and who's coming on the show. And of course, her infamous blog post about the show we just did, which is amazing. And we have a record of content that goes way back, all because of Jackie Bailey. Okay. I think we've swept the house and done all the cleaning, and now it's time to get on with the show and Jackie's guest. So that means Jackie has the introduction. You're up.
Yes, thank you so much. Today with us, we have Dr. Philip Agrios. He's a business breakthrough specialist. He's an international speaker and a best-selling author who guides business people worldwide to move from self-sabotage to self-made success by uncovering an inborn trait that stops their success. Tragic events that affected his personal and professional life sparked him on a quest to understand human behavior to its core. While working with thousands of people for over 30 years, he was able to discover a revolutionary way to avoid self-sabotage and transcend now. So welcome our wonderful guest today, who's going to talk about his quiz and his book, Dr. Philip Agrios. It's great to have you with us today.
Nice to meet you. How's everybody doing? And glad to.
Well, we've already met. We already met once. This is the second time.
I've been honored to come back here and do this and add some more value that you said that we did. So that's great.
Oh yeah. No, just about every guest we have on, there is so much more to talk about. Let's see. So I should have looked it up. You've been on the show before, but how old is the book? That will tell us if you had the book out before.
Oh yeah, I had the book out before.
Okay.
The book's a few years old. I wrote that. I used to be a chiropractor and a functional medicine practitioner. My specialty was thyroid and autoimmune disease. And when I was using the hidden sabotaging trait with my patients, we were helping them to understand why they were not achieving health, because it was actually more painful to be in the health mode and get there than staying in their disease state. And when we were using this with my patients, I had very high success rates with autoimmune patients and thyroid, which is unheard of, because we were showing them why they were constantly increasing flare-ups in their things. And then my patients who were business owners were making major breakthroughs in their business. Never thought about it. So I started getting referrals all around the world. So I decided to wrote my book. And a few years later, then I decided to close my practice and do this full time.
Yeah. And you're coaching people, right? Isn't that what you do full time? You coach groups and then on an individual level.
Yes, we do. So we have a great time, especially in the groups. Everybody makes great breakthroughs. And I'm just so blessed that I have the opportunity to do this, to shifting my one career to the other. I speak to a lot of business owners that want to do that, or business people who are in careers that want to shift from their career to their business. And we've helped many to do that as well, because they were wondering why they were stopping themselves. And it's just one thing. And once they understood the one thing, then this domino behavior effect would happen. And then their dreams would then turn into a reality.
But you haven't always known this, right?
Heck no.
I mean, this is something you discovered because of some challenges you had in life, correct?
Yes. Yeah. And I was placed on this journey, didn't ask for it. And it, when you are able to discover something no one else has, because no one else has this, no one's teaching this content. It is totally something totally new. So if you're looking for something totally new, we have that. But when you find something about that, you're going to have to go through some major stuff to break down of what has been giving deep down inside you. So it was been an interesting few decades of situations. So it was an interesting pattern.
Well, take us back, because there might be.
Oh, okay. I didn't know whether you want me to get into that.
I mean, it's up to you, but I think sometimes people can connect
absolutely.
with a story.
I am very transparent
and find themselves in the same place that maybe you found yourself. And then we can see that there was just about to be that spark of inspiration where you created this whole new thing. Right. And so, fill us in.
It started back in 1991. We started doing some things, a partner and I, then all hell broke loose a few years later. It all started from a false accusation from an insurance company. Three things were going to happen. I was going to jail. I was going to have to pay back 3 times what they told me I owed them. And I was going to lose my chiropractic license. So that was a little stressful. During that time, my father was diagnosed with brain cancer. He was a healthy 71-year-old. 7 months later, he passed. And then what happened was my mom, who was always sick, she became even more. So that I became the primary caretaker of my mom for 7 years until she passed. During that situation, I went through a lot of financial problems, a lot of stuff. It went up and down, especially 2008 was a great experience. Those of you who I lost everything in all my during my
tumultuous time.
My real estate. And then right after that happened, I went through a horrific divorce that did that as well. And I went through, I lost my practice. I went on disability. I had a thing called thoracic outlet syndrome, which caused weakness and numbness on both my hands with carpal tunnel in both hands. And I used to get out of bed feeling like I was walking on glass, and I was in my late 30s. So I lost my practice. It was a multidisciplinary clinic practice. It all went to down. And on top of that, one of my daughters almost committed suicide, that they said that if my ex came home 10 minutes later, she would have been dead. So that's just a beginning of some of the things. I won't bore people with other stuff that went through it. So I went through a lot, and I am okay with everything. I have no regret, because if I didn't go through all of that, I would have never be here standing in front of you brilliant people. So, and discovered what I have done. So we help people to understand that. So it's not too many times I come across somebody that has gone through something that I haven't gone through.
Well, so, I think that's an important part. And that's something maybe we should preface, is because in your book, you really focus on, look, this isn't going to work for you if you find some if you don't find some gratitude, and if you don't lose that regret. Maybe you could highlight that just a little bit.
Yeah. One of the, people ask me, besides wanting to know the Saboteur and the Antidote, which we'll get into, one of the fastest ways in order for you to shift is to be grateful.
Yeah.
But deeper than that is so people talk about forgiveness, which is great. But I say to people, you don't need to forgive anything or yourself if you find a benefit out of the experience.
So
if you find the benefit out of the experience, why would I need to forgive? I should be grateful and appreciative of that, because it allowed me to evolve. So at that moment, I was dissolving, and it gave me the opportunity to evolve. So it's up to you whether you want to evolve or dissolve, right? They both happen at the same time. We won't go into that. let's go into that. So, you hear people go, my life is falling apart. And I go, yeah, but at the same time, it's falling together. Depends on what side you want to look at.
Entropy.
Right. So exactly. We live in a dichotomous world, up, down, left, right, yin, yang, all that stuff. So if you're
Right.
in the Northern Hemisphere and you hate winter, don't have to be suffering for 3 months. Take a plane down to the other hemisphere and you have sunshine. So everything happens within us. We have everything. There is no such thing as lack. The reason why lack comes in is because of the vibration that you're experiencing. So lack has to come in to reinforce your lack vibration. But as soon as you shift within you, the outside world shifts, because the outside world is you. The person you can't stand, that you hate, is a part of you that you can't stand and hate. They just
Right.
show up to show you what you're going through.
You have to reconcile that. Very cool.
So it sounds like you started teaching people these principles prior to writing your book about it.
Yes. Oh yeah, it's 30 years.
How did you start to do that? Were you getting groups of friends together and saying, hey, people, I just discovered something awesome? Or how did you start that process?
Well, I started on me.
Okay.
So when I found the hidden sabotage trait for myself, I basically said, what? This has caused all my problems throughout my entire life. It's caused me problems today, and now it'll cause me problems for the rest of my life. I'm like, there's no way, it's too simple. So I went out to try to disprove it. And over 30 years, researching thousands upon thousands of people, I was able to prove it. And on top of that, was able to find a way to switch it off instantly, and it works 100% of the time. So when you start to release your personal professional power and you start to feel uncomfortable, your saboteur kicks in to protect you. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not an idiot or all the other hundreds of words we say to ourselves. You're just protecting yourself because you're ready to evolve and you're uncomfortable. So instead of doing this, imagine as you contract, which you'll always contract, just like your heart has to contract. Then when you know it, you use the antidote to start going to growth. So you're doing this instead of doing that. So I started focusing on my family, my patients, going through the process, try to understand what they're going through. And that's how it all started. And then going through some more stuff. And I go, why is this happening to me? What's going on with this? And then it would break down some more things. I discovered a 6-step blueprint. That's how I was able to discover the saboteur. Once I would understand that, it took me decades to really put everything into place to really see what was going on. And then when I took the 6 steps and I actually took the halves and put them together, it actually created 3 basic principles of the universe. They are the director's principle, the supplier principle, and the communicator's principle. So everything in the universe, including us, gets directed, supplied, and communicated. That is it. And when I saw those 3 things, that it was governing the atoms to the galaxies, because it kind of goes into quantum physics and everything else that I had to basically teach myself. I realized that those 3 principles were us. So I called them the 3 traits, since traits make up our behavior. Once I knew the 3 traits, right? So we have the communicator, director, and the supplier trait. That's all within us. Then you place them into what's called the personality stress sequence. It's a sequence of 3 different specific traits. There's a dominant trait, which is your superpower. It's the mediator trait, which is the bridge. And then you have the saboteur. Once I know the sequence, I can tell you everything about you and never meet you. I can ask you a couple of questions about your significant other. I will then tell you everything about them. And then I'll tell you everything, how you two interact, and never ask you a question. That's how much of a science we got this to, because there's only 6 sequences of human behavior. So therefore, there's only 6 people in the world.
Wow. No matter what culture they come from.
No, that's the beauty of it. So that's where, one of the things I was able to discover was that, I took Tony Robbins, I took Rowe, I took, everybody, right? Zig Ziglar and all that. And things would go great. And then they would go boom, right? I would not be successful. And I realized that the reason was because I was taking their stuff, which is brilliant, but it was general. And I was putting it onto my dominant, my mediator trait, because that's what I was seeing, not the saboteur, which was hidden. So, but just like a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while, it would hit my antidote, without me knowing it, I would become successful, but because I didn't know how I was successful, I would lose it. So now we now know how to use what that person has to the antidote. And by they using the antidote, which is the exact opposite to the saboteur. So we actually prove to you that when you use the antidote, it's impossible for you to sabotage yourself, which is just protection.
Fascinating. So your book, it's called One Law.
Life's One Law.
Life's One Law.
Yeah.
And is there a definition for that one law? And then we'll get into the saboteur and the antidote.
So without kind of diving too deep into this, to confuse people, because that's happened way in the past. The one law that I was able to see is that everything is made up this one law. So if we look at ourselves as the one law, right? Within us, what makes us the one is the three traits. So the three traits actually make up the one, right? So if I look at the planet, right, within that are actually the three principles of the planet. Then if I go in the planet, then I find one thing, a tree, the three principles are in there. And then if I go into the tree, I can look into the cell and those three, and it continues. So life is just made up of three things: director, supplier, and communicator. And it's over and over and over again. They talk about the one particle in physics. There is no one particle, because it keeps on becoming, it's infinitum. The finite is the one, but it's infinity as we go deeper and deeper and deeper. So I'm able to show how dark matter is a part of us and other things, and how everything is just made up of the three. And that's the life's one law, is just only one law. So within us is the one, but what we do is we take those three out and we segment it, because we can only focus on one thing at a time. I can't talk to you about the two traits at the same time. I can only do it one time. So that's why we segment it. But within you, it happens instantaneously.
And this is all really explained in the book, Life's One Law. I mean, you take it step by step by step. Is it too early to introduce? I just love your metaphor of the seasons. Is it too early to introduce that before we get in?
Because they're going to ask for it anyway. So, that's why back when, when you had all this stuff, I would just, throw it out, and it would confuse people. And I remember one person had told me, had said, and I respect him, and Steve Harrison. I don't know if you know who Steve Harrison is. He's a publicist of Jack Canfield and Robert Kiyosaki.
Oh yeah, I've
he works with thousands upon thousands of authors. And I presented my stuff, and he said, don't do the seasons. It's confusing people. Just focus on the saboteur, and later introduce the seasons. And that's exactly
it does come later.
What we do. That's why with Transcendence 101, that's our 5-week live group coaching course, which we guarantee you in 5 weeks or less, you will stop sabotaging yourself. And then we go to T201, which is a 3-month business course where we dive into that. We show you how to increase your sales by 86.2%. We show you other things and how your business actually has its own inborn sabotaging trait and antidote. So we actually go into corporations or businesses and show them how them as well as their employees are subconsciously sabotaging the business because they're using their saboteur to the business saboteur. And when you use your antidote to the business's antidote, it's like a valve of success that kicks in.
Wow.
See that? And I know I don't. So basically, with the seasons, I was able to discover 6 seasons, not 4. And when I found the 6 seasons, that's what took me about a decade to kind of figure it all out, and then realize that when I put the 6 seasons together, that's where the 3 basic principles came on. That's how I was able to find the saboteur. But the 6 seasons is the 6th step that nature uses to come back from her storms. Mm-hmm. It's the same 6-step blueprint that's within us that solves any business problem, that will increase your sales. There's 6 steps that follow a cyclical way. And then once you understand that you're in this particular season at that particular time, you follow some questions, deal with that, and then people go, what do I do next? Just go to the next season. So if you're in step 2, then when you're done, you go to step 3. So we outline in the book questions and all that, but we go much, much deeper that and how it really affects the business and the personal life in a much way. Because remember, your business and your personal are one. So the saboteur affects both at the same time. And then the antidote affects both at the same time. So when you use just one thing, it creates this domino effect, and instantly you have a result.
Okay, so let's go ahead, Jack.
Did we just like people like I'm off here? This is like way coming.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
really
no, I think
simple.
it's
but
in the book, right? That's what we can say. It's in the book.
It's in the book.
Yeah, I actually have one comment to make, but then a question. So we'll ask the question first. Is so you say it's all in the book, and someone getting your book can work through this and understand it, or do they need to have a conversation with you to fully understand how to apply what's in the book?
Yeah, the book, I created the book because I wanted to copyright my information as well, but I also wanted to use it as a way to explain what I had. So I wrote it in a couple of weeks, just kind of downloaded on me, and it went out. So that's why the book cover, I've had some people comment on the book cover, and so I haven't been inspired yet to write another book and really focus on like more simplicity. But if you get the book, you can use it. That's great. Do whatever you got to do with it. But with our 5-week, you have a one-on-one with me, and we go really deep down to the one thing. So the book really goes through the seasons, and then at the end, we kind of talk to the saboteur. That was before I really focused on the saboteur and then work myself back. But they can get it, understand it. But if they really want to make breakthroughs within a few weeks, basically 1 to 2 weeks, we guarantee within 1 to 2 weeks, you'll make major breakthroughs. Then having a conversation, we were offering a 30-minute conversation, complimentary conversation with me. That's going to go away probably about a month or two, because we're going to be going into more master classes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But if they want to, they can go to bookwithdrphil.com, and they can bring me one professional problem or one professional or personal challenge, and I'll show you how the saboteur created it and how to use the antidote to start solving it immediately within that 30 minutes.
Wow.
Well, it all starts with the quiz, right? So people take the quiz, but you have to give them an interpretation. Is that done through email, or does that require the one-on-one?
So they can do two things. They can just take the quiz first and then have the complimentary call. A lot of people just take the quiz and I never hear from them, and I feel bad because they get results, and two things happen. They take the quiz incorrectly and they get incorrect results, and I have
Me.
Oh, give
Jackie,
yourself more credit.
because
There's that
we give them-
self-saboteur.
yeah, we give them specific instructions, so people sometimes don't read it and they just take the quiz. And then some people do take the quiz, they get the result, and they think that's all they need is this one thing, but they don't really see the depth of it and the expansion of it.
Right.
Because remember, we had a professor on our 5-week course, and we actually changed the results because of her, because she says, I should have been here 6 months ago. I thought this was it. And now after just the first week, I see on the second week, I can see, oh my God, I've missed it completely by just like what I thought it was, because we go much, much deeper into it. But so they can take the quiz, or if they book with Dr. Phil, when they go and they book, then they can take the quiz. They can see the testimonials of all the people who have taken it. And then they can see 2 videos of me that kind of explain some things.
Good. So it's easy then to just start with bookwithdrphil.com. They'll have access to the quiz then, and then also be able to set up a time.
Right. And we're starting our program tomorrow. It's not going to come out until like April. So we give a few days. So if you're going to do it, book it now or not. You're going to have to wait at least 6 weeks before we come out with the next one.
Yeah. Okay. So I had another comment to make, and I'm certain I'm not the first person to bring this up, because when you were talking about the 3 things.
Come on, Jackie, now you're special.
Well, I went to sort of that religious mindset where there's 3 members of that Trinity or Godhood, right? And how do those things interact?
Wow, this is the first time ever anybody's asked me this on a podcast, and so okay, so this has nothing to do with, this is, I don't believe in, I used to be Catholic, Greek, and Greek. I'm Greek and Italian. Used to be Catholic. I was weaned on guilt. Anyway, no. So basically, in Christianity, those of you who may not know, there's a Trinity. There's God the Father, the God the Son, and the God the Holy Spirit.
Right.
So there's no more mystery. So basically, the director principle deals with what? God the Father, because the Father is what? Director is more the authoritarian. It's focusing, it's directing you, it's showing you the way and things like that. God, the Holy Spirit, is the supplier because it supplies what the gifts, but it supplies energy and our feelings. And then God, Jesus came down in physical form because he needed to explain the two. So the communicator deals with the physical form. So, and it's blown, we explained this, if you took the course, and we had one person ask that and everybody understood it once they understood the whole three things. But yeah, all three. So we're not made in the likeness of God in our eyes, nose, ears, and throat. It is out of the three traits.
Right,
So
but it's often said that they are one in purpose, right? I actually believe they're three different people, but most people believe that they are one person. But even if they are three individuals, as I believe, they're still one in purpose.
They still have the three within them.
Absolutely. So what you were saying, what you were explaining just made sense. And I just didn't know if you'd ever crossed that line before.
Oh, yeah.
And,
I discovered it a few decades ago and went, oh my God. So that's why I can reach anybody, because, you hear like a Wayne Dyer, like we are God, right?
Yeah.
And other people is no, they're separate. So basically the three, we are God or we are an extension of God. It's the same thing. It's just how you want to talk about it, because we are a creator of our own life and they're their creator, but we have a business partner with the universe and ourselves that makes the creation of one, right? And we can go deeper into this, into
and all
that, but I wouldn't want to go there.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I just wanted to point that out. But
well,
yeah,
cool.
because the director deals. So we can go over the three saboteurs if you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's
drill down into that. So we have our saboteur, and then describe for us. I mean, there's many different antidotes, I'm sure, but maybe just one.
There's only three.
Where do I get the pill? Where do I get the pill?
Well,
is there a booster? Is there a booster that we have to take once we have the
Let's not go down that road. So basically what happens is there's only three. So the three traits are within us. Once you put them into the sequence, right? Then once I know that, I can tell you. That's why with you, Jackie, when you took the quiz and I saw you told me the results, I knew before you were really a supplier, and I said, basically, you probably took it as of today. You said yes. I said, you have to take it as a child because you were born with this. This is what we're looking at. Like the DISC and all the other personality tests. First of all, they only have 4 quadrants, right?
Right.
There's actually 6. They missed 2. That's why the 6 sequences. But you have to take those every 6 months. Once you know this never changes. You take this quiz once, and 30 years from now, you and I will be talking, and you'll be going through the same thing you're going through. And I'm going to say supplier saboteur. How do I know this? Because I've been working for people for 30 years. So it never changes.
And it's because I haven't used the antidote, right? That's why I keep going through.
Exactly. And we've worked with children, and I've seen kids that way. And we actually even looked at puppies and stuff like that, where you can kind of, where they're going to be. But anyway.
Yeah.
So basically you have 3 saboteurs. So everything's within us. So when I explain each saboteur, you're going to say, majority of people are going to go, well, I can see each of them within me. Yes, they're in you. However, because one's going to be more of a protector for you, more of the saboteur, you use that, and one's more of a dominant trait. That's where the sequence comes into play. Okay. So when I talk to you guys about this, pick one of them that really resonates. If you can't, it's because, and what we find is that the saboteur and the mediator are so close because you're going through so much that you're really using the mediator. And there's a way we do in the course to find out instantaneously and how to put it in, and then the person will prove it. We've had that where, like the second week, we've had, I think two classes ago, 2 people basically said, I don't see this. And what happened was they had their dominant and immediate trait shifted. As soon as we shifted it, they went, oh my God, this is exactly what I do. I had a guy one time when I first started this was like, you don't know me. And I went, no one's ever telling me that. And what we found out, and this was in the beginning because I was trying to figure it out, we were focusing on the mediator, not the saboteur. We had it switched. As soon as we switched it, within 3 days, things shifted in his life.
Wow.
So that really reaffirmed to me that once the sequence is, people then resonate and then they can do something about it. Now, the first one we're going to deal with is called a director saboteur. The director saboteur is a person who's scattered. They're all over the place. They don't like to be told what to do. They don't like accountability. They'll go 99% done with something and they'll stop and they'll do something that's much easier and more fun because they don't want to complete the task. Chaos, they bring in their life in order to do things and forces them to move and get things done. If not, they'll sit back and do nothing. So they'll be focusing on that end of it. So, but then they can go to the other extreme. They can get hyper-focused. They have a time distortion where they go, hey, honey, I'll be out in 5 minutes, and 5 hours later they emerge. They're focusing on this thing. They're hyper-focused. 2 days later, they finally finish and they go, good. And then they realize they didn't plan out well and they have all the other things they got to do because they just focused for 2 days on this instead of dispersing it. Then they go back and now they're scattered. So for the rest of their lives, they will always have the challenge between scatteredness and hyper-focus because you never get rid of the saboteur. You never get rid of the saboteur, but we teach you how to switch it off. But it has to be there because it allows you to evolve. Without it, we would not evolve because it brings adversity stuff into our lives so that we can break through and continue to expand and evolve. So those of you who that said, oh, that sounds exactly like me. So write down director saboteur. The supplier saboteur is a person who overly gives, they overly share. They have a hard time saying no or not now because they feel that they have to give to others, that if they took for themselves, they feel selfish. But they have a misperception between self-nourishment and selfishness. They're not the same. So they focus on everybody else's feelings because they don't want to focus on their own feelings. So people take advantage of their kindness because they're constantly giving. And then they get resentful or upset because the person's not equally reciprocating what they gave. And then they'll go to the other extreme and go, I've had it with you, screw you, I'm done, I'm taking. Once they do that, then they feel uncomfortable. So depending on the person's situation, then they'll feel guilty and they don't have any boundaries, then they go to the other extreme. So a supplier saboteur for the rest of their lives will always try to find the balance between giving and taking. Does that resonate with you?
Hello.
Right. So if you're a business person, you're the person that gives stuff away for free. Because you don't value yourself. So you feel that by actually giving away for free, it gives you value, but subconsciously it actually devalues you.
Yeah.
Does that hit home?
So yes.
Those of you that resonate, write down supplier saboteur. Then we have the communicator saboteur. These are the people that listen really well. They're very loyal people, but they don't express themselves. You have no idea what they're thinking or feeling when they go into their shell. And they have a hard time confronting is because they don't want to feel stupid or embarrassed. So they have to think about it and overanalyze the heck out of it. They'll overthink it or they'll overfeel it. So they get caught in this process of this loop. And then they have the extreme that go the other way and do two things. They go explode and just tell you how it is and the volcano explodes, or they'll still tell you you're an idiot under their breath. You still don't know what the hell they're thinking. And then they'll go back and shut you out because you piss them off. It takes a long time to get back in their graces. So for them, it's always for the rest of their lives how to communicate and to express, not to overly express and not to go into their clam. Make sense?
Yeah.
Does
Totally.
that resonate?
But yeah, but you said something earlier that this should be a description of how we were when we were a child.
Mm-hmm.
right? So I was just thinking about that. When I was a child, I was more of a communicator saboteur,
Mm-hmm.
but now as an adult, I definitely fit in the realm of the director. So that communicator as a child, if I heard you correctly, never really left me, but now something else has become more dominant.
What happens there when you're that way, you worked with coaches and mentors, psychologists, whomever, in order for you to try to figure out why you do what you do. Okay. Well, what I find out too, and I'm going to go a little tangent, is that a lot of times psychologists and coaches focus on the dominant and immediate trait because that's what they see, not what they hear. We had a vet, 5 tours, PTSD, and he was been in therapy for a long time. Within the second week of the program, I told him, make sure you go back to your therapist and give them the antidote. Within 2 weeks, they were able to find out that at 5 years old why he went to war, and he had a major shift. So, because they went after the actual reason. So going back to Todd's question, was a brilliant question. I was this, now I'm more this. Yes, because what's happening is during the time you're able to express yourself, but the reason why you're scattered and everything else is because somewhere along the line, you're not expressing yourself to some people. So you're taking on more, which is scattering you. Does that make sense?
Totally.
So that's where your supplier. So now what's happening, you're focusing on your mediator, and that's why things aren't continually going, because you're not going after the one domino. So for instance, you see the domino masters, they push the one domino, it goes, shh, right? The last one hits, and then what's released? Balloons, let's say. Well, what's the last thing you see?
Balloons.
Right. That's your imposter syndrome. That's your anxiety, your over talking, your everything you see and feel what? Last. So what do? We take our coping methods and do what? We put them on the balloons, not the one domino. What's easier? Hold down all the balloons and stop pushing the one domino. The domino is your saboteur that creates every negative emotion that you feel. We prove that to you. One thing creates all of this. But what happens is we focus on all this instead of this.
Right.
And as soon as you understand this then goes down the road of desperation and frustration. But when you use the antidote, the exact opposite, you go down the road of inspiration and motivation.
So the antidote then is that recognizing that one thing that causes all the chaos to happen, and that allows you to have a flip of the way that you think about things.
Instead of going back and forth, the antidote allows you to do this.
And is the antidote the same for every person once you figure out what their saboteur is?
Right.
Then
The
they have
saboteur.
the same antidote. Okay. And I also heard you mention their superpower. Is that the same as the antidote, or is that something different?
Something different.
Okay.
So with yourself, we were talking before, if I may, is that okay?
Sure. The pre-show.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I everything is confidential. When people are in my 5-week class, only those people see that video. No one else sees it. Like if you had a consultation with me, Todd would never know that you had that unless you told him. I don't tell. That's how I take HIPAA laws 10 times, because I created like a doctor-patient relationship because I want people to open up to me, because I don't judge them. And the reason why we don't judge people is because, the reason why we do judge people is because your dominant trait, your superpower, is my saboteur.
Okay.
So for instance, if you have a person who has no problem talking, but you have a saboteur, communicator saboteur who doesn't talk, you can go, what's wrong with you? Just open your mouth. Can you just tell me what the heck's going on with you? Are you mute? What's wrong with you? Right? Or you have a person who's very structured and they're talking to a director saboteur and going, what's wrong with you? Just make a note. Can you finish just one thing? Really? Are you stupid? And then we have the person who has no problem taking for themselves to a supplier saboteur and go, do you love abuse? Do you like this? Are you a freaking whiner? Are you a victim? You like being a victim? You're an idiot. What's wrong? So can you see how we can judge them as much as they can judge the person who just judge them.
Yeah.
I got
That's-
Jackie's number.
Yes,
That's right.
You do.
I'm just kidding.
Right. So, like I said, I know your sequence, both your sequences, and I can tell you if you had a conflict back when, why it started, and then how to switch it off instantly. We've
I don't
helped
think
save
Jackie and I
marriages.
have ever had a
Oh,
conflict.
no, I'm saying if you ever had one, I'm saying. If
No,
you
I know
did.
that, but we've been friends for a very long time, and we've been involved in many events and many other things and clubs and
Yeah, and we can
It's
then tell
probably
you
because-
why.
It's probably because I'm a supplier, and so I'm willing to just make you happy, Todd.
So here's the thing, and she talks for you, right? So she'll talk for you, and then what happens is you are able to, yeah, and I can tell you why that happens. But in that time frame, certain things that might have not gotten done, even though you're great friends, you weren't efficient because you were enabling each other.
I could see that. Yeah. Okay,
Uh,
I'm willing to be an open book here, and so I'm willing to confess or admit, whatever the case might be, that I am a supplier, and I think my superpower is a communicator.
Mhm.
And my antidote is what?
To value yourself and others.
Value myself and others.
Now, it's
see,
that
that's
simple.
It's
But-
interesting to me though, because a supplier seems to be doing that by only looking at the feelings of others instead of their own. Aren't they valuing others at least? Maybe they're not valuing themselves, but they're valuing others.
But there are times supplier saboteurs will devalue others because they've had it. I've had people with your sequence look at people calling them narcissists. And what happened is you would think, oh, they're really this. No, they were so hurt as a child that they've actually shifted where now they push people away first so they don't get hurt. But as we talk, they still see their sequence. They want to give others, but they overly give. And then they're giving people too much. And then they get pissed off because people now they view it subconsciously, they're taking advantage of them and they get rid of them.
Yeah.
And they see this consistently. And I've had a few people in your sequence who've now understand, wow, I just don't have friends because I want to give to them, but then something happens and I think that they're an idiot or whatever, and then I blow up because your emotions, you deal with your emotions first. Your emotions trip you up. It's not your saboteur. Your emotions trip you up. You just don't know how to use your antidote to equally neutralize your emotions. So we had, I don't know how, like 6 months ago I was on here. So we talked about this and we gave you the antidote, right? Because just giving you the antidote, you kind of understand it. I mean, we've had people use it. I had a person use it within 3 days. She had a $250,000 contract. She says, wow, if you can do this to me, just talking to me, I'm taking your course. And she took the course and she really exploded. And then there's other people just, oh yeah, that's nice. And they just disregard it, right? That's why I'm always like, okay, do I just not give them the antidote so they can then have to call me to get that antidote to explain it deeper? We're still on the fence.
I will tell you that when I heard that antidote, which was to take care of myself and others, right? Which is pretty general.
Yeah.
There's not really specifics like how am I supposed to do that, right?
Right, but we show you how to do that.
Right.
But yeah. And then you realize, oh, that's all I needed. But once you dive deeper and understand how the 3 traits work together to trip you up.
Yeah.
So 6 months ago, we talked about it, but now we talked about it here, but now you're shifting because you redid the quiz and you came up as a communicator.
Right.
And immediately
but I think it's because I've been taking care of myself though. I mean, I think it's because I did a little bit more for myself and less about worrying how to get things done for other people.
Right. But because you took it as of today, I said to you, are you now shutting down in certain areas? And you're like, yes. I said, that's why you came up as a communicator saboteur, because you're focusing on now, not what you were. Because now you just shifted. Because now you're taking for you too much. You're feeling uncomfortable. Now you're shutting down and you're having this emotional battle within you, because it's going to be a point where then you're going to have to then overly give, because that's how you balance. So we balance this way compared to this way.
Right.
You're still balancing, but it's not the extreme, because you're going to get to a point you like to give. If you're not giving, you're okay, because better than licking your wounds, or you're just healing yourself, whatever. But then you're going to go back, and then you're going to start overly giving, and you're going to go back into the same pattern. It doesn't matter. You're still getting the same result, because whether here or there, because you're still imbalanced. Once you really understand how to value yourself and others at the time and see how these things relate, then we help that way, because you don't set yourself boundaries. You're overly patient, you're overly tolerant, and people take advantage of that, because subconsciously you're telling them it's okay. But then you get pissed off at them because they're taking advantage of it. But no, you said it's okay, because through your actions and what you're saying, it's not them, it's you, because it happens on the subconscious level,
Right.
sometimes consciously, right? But you got to look at you change them, or they leave.
Yeah. No, I can give you a very specific example of that, in that, I mean, I run a nonprofit, and it's to serve kids mostly. And I want these kids to feel empowered. And there are some kids, or some families, I should say, who struggle with being able to pay our standard fee for programs. So I go, well, all right, then let me give you either this discount, or if you do this for me, it'll be free. Well, and I find that it's nice to be able to feel like I can do that. But on the converse side of that, there have been many instances where free means they don't have to show up to class. Free means they don't have to do their assignments.
Right. There's no buy-in.
Free means there's no skin in the game, and therefore they take advantage of me, which affects all the other kids in the class who paid to be there, right?
Yep, exactly.
And so then I go,
right.
and I say, I'm never giving this free again, because it didn't work out.
Right. And then what happens is, because you're giving it away for free, the universe says, okay, let's just keep on bringing you those people in, because that makes you feel good, compared to saying no. When you say no, two things happen. They'll find it, because as soon as you say no to them, they're going to go find an iPhone, they're going to get the $100 sneakers, or whatever they're going to do, because that's what they need, because they don't see the value in it. And it could also be how you're closing, that we can change that too.
Yeah.
Right. So by doing that, because when you don't close, it's your saboteur actually stopping you, because it's more painful to close that person than not. And we prove that to you. It comes down, everything comes down to your saboteur. But on top of that, when you give it free to them and you create this vibration, you are now not able to impact the people you want to impact, because you don't have the monetary gains because of that, because you want to help people, but because those people don't want to help themselves, you take on the responsibility to help them, which is not your responsibility.
Right, exactly.
With the supplier saboteur, and that's what we dive deep to go really understand that. So you really understand that, so you stop it or diminish it. But when you go back, and you will go back to it, it won't be to the degree you do. But when you do it, you won't do it as long, and you can shift it.
That's great. Yeah, it's actually a new mantra of mine is, I can't always help the people who need me.
It's not your responsibility.
It's not my responsibility
to help
people who need me, right?
So let's go a little deeper. I'll give if we have time, I'll give a real pearl.
We got a few more minutes.
Okay.
Couple minutes.
So it's basically, I'm not responsible for my children. I'm not responsible for my clients. I'm not responsible for my wife. I'm not responsible for anybody but me, because I'm the only one in control of me. I'm responsible to them because they are in my life, but I'm not responsible for them. If I'm responsible for them, then I'm going to try to manipulate them and control them to go down the road I want them to go down, what I think that's the best way, compared to allowing them to unfold them instead of molding them.
Wow. Yeah.
Fascinating.
Huge epiphany.
You got the key. You got the keys to the kingdom now, Jackie?
I do. I got it all figured out.
You got it all?
But Dr. Phil can help you guys figure it out, because you've got this program starting tomorrow. Is that right?
Yeah. And then what happens is we give about 4 days afterwards. And even if that way, a lot of people can come on, but after the 6 days, we cut it off, because it's going to take too much time to catch up. But we have plenty where we can get in people in the next few days.
So tell them how to find out how to do that then.
They can go to bookwithdrphil.com. You'll come to my page. You can read about something, watch a video, watch some testimonials, click on the green button. You get the calendar from there, and then you can take the quiz afterwards. You get your inborn sabotage and trait and antidote for free. And then we'll show you how that saboteur created those challenges and how to start switching it off, and to see if this program is for you. If it's not, I will talk you out of it.
Yes.
Because I don't want people if they're not ready, they're not committed, I don't want you in my program. Right. You're going to mess it up, just like she said with that. Exactly. And that's why I have really phenomenal clients, because I pick the people that are wanting to do what they need to do. And if you're not ready, then I tell you, you're not ready.
Right.
Very cool.
Awesome.
Well, we're gonna have Dr. Phillip back on, Jackie, in 6 months, and
see how you do, Jack.
And we're gonna see both of us, really, because I think that there's some things that we can do, and I'll review the book again, and you might even see me tomorrow.
Oh, cool. And imagine knowing your own business's inborn sabotage trait. This podcast.
Well, that's the curious part, because I am an entrepreneur and I have a business and I have 12 or 15 employees, and
so imagine knowing, my apologies, imagine knowing that employee who is a low performer, how to understand their sequence and how to shift them into a high performer in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Imagine knowing a potential client, their saboteur. You'll know why they're resistive, and you'll know how to guide them to your product if your product and service is right for them. Karma's a bitch.
More news at 11. Thank you so much, Dr. Phil, for showing up today. So and oh my gosh, we're definitely going to have you back on. We're going to follow this along and see what's going on in our very own life mastery journeys, right?
I appreciate that. Yeah, and if you can't make it, do it, and we will have one in end of March. So use that same one, and we can go from there for those that can't make it. But we always have these every few months.
Yeah, awesome.
I can see the wheels turning in Jackie's mind. That's about all we have time for today. I hope you enjoyed the show. My biggest hope is that you will tell a friend about the show. Jackie and I are out of the nest now. We're flying on our own, and we think we have a really cool show. And I think that you think we have a really cool show. And I think that you should tell a friend about it. There. How do you like that? Lastly, please, please, please make it a great day, because it is all about choice. And we learned a lot about choice today. Bye-bye for now.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for tuning in to Life Mastery Radio. Join Todd Allen and Jackie Bailey and their guests of leading authors, speakers, coaches, and entrepreneurs weekly at 10 a.m. Pacific. Learn to live a peaceful life with intentional mastery through stories and messages to support your well-being and most evocative dreams. Visit their website, www.lifemasteryradio.com. Join their mailing list and be notified about upcoming guests. That's lifemasteryradio.com.